Alright, so this is just a quick analysis of each signet and I would not go into much details. But before that, it might be better to explain this thing that keeps appearing on signet descriptions, which is adaptive damage. So basically, adaptive damage is a damage that changes its type according to your Valkyrie. For example, you have Memento, who is an Ice type Valkyrie. Your adaptive damage will also become Ice type. This damage scales with your damage buffs and breach, but to simplify things, just think of it as an extra source of damage. And with that out of the way, let's start this tier list. First off is the Ego Signet, and this is automatically S tier. Next is Aponia's Signets, which are similar to Hua's Signets in that both take a long time to build max stacks. But the difference is, Aponia's charges are halved every time you perform a certain action, such as using an ultimate or an ultimate evasion. And these two are the only things that actually matter. There's a signet that prevents the stacks from dropping, but you have to perform a QTE, which only a few Valkyries can do. The first core gives damage bonuses, and the enhanced signets buff either the basic attacks or the ultimate attacks. Honestly, nothing special, so this is probably C or D tier. Now, the second core addresses the problem with stacks by doubling the amount you gain, so even if you lose stacks, you would actually regain it in just a few seconds. The second core also deals adaptive damage every 5 seconds without any effort, so we can think of the second core as Hua and Su combined, but a lot better. The enhanced signets give breach and total damage taken, so this definitely belongs to S tier and should always be taken over the first core. Next is Eden, which gives buffs based on the amount of SP you currently have. First core does lightning damage after restoring 100 SP, but this is rarely used now since there are better choices. So I will be putting this on D tier. The second core is suited for those who can use SP continuously. Using SP gives charges and the buff that gives increasing damage over time. This buff consumes the charges and the consumption rate also increases over time. When the charges are fully consumed, then the buff is reset back to 0. For the enhanced signets, they give SP recovery, lightning damage, defense, and elemental resist reduction. So I would say this is A or B tier. But I would put this on B tier. Money is power, and that's basically Pardophilis in a nutshell. Getting more coins gives you more damage buffs, and this signet also lets you increase the points you obtain per floor, letting you buy and upgrade more signets. Another thing is, it also increases your max HP, which synergizes with Scalpass. Party signets are also often used with a slot machine, especially for speedruns, since it has a chance to give 999 coins. The first core further boosts the effects of the signets by 50% while also giving damage bonuses. The enhanced signets give adaptive damage when using an evasion skill or ultimate, and this is one of the reasons why bosses get one-shotted in speedruns. The other enhanced signet basically acts like Hua's core, which blocks damage while also giving breach, so definitely A tier. Now for the second core, this lets you buy out the shop and incentivizes you to do so, since it gives free shop refreshes, discounts, and temporary damage bonus based on how much you spend, so this is also A tier. Next is Griseo, and I've talked about this signet previously. The number one rule here is to always get the red paint since it's the most overpowered signet out there. This has an independent multiplier, which basically means a direct damage increase. Both red and yellow paints can act really well even without a core signet. The first core gives you more damage if they are painted and you have the type disadvantage. But the confusing thing is, one of the enhanced signets lets you deal more damage if you have the type advantage. The other two signets give breach and adaptive damage, so I would place this at C tier. The second core introduces more colors from the enhanced signets, and activating these does 3 things. It deals adaptive damage, gives damage buffs, and activates color-specific buffs. The purple and orange paints should be what you are aiming for. Purple from red and blue increases the effects of the basic colors, which is a huge deal for the red paint. Orange from red and yellow reduces defense and elemental resistance. Overall, this is definitely S tier and is a better choice over the first core. Next would be This Signet takes 40 seconds at the minimum to reach full stacks, and most stages are finished before it even reaches max stacks. Which is why I personally don't start with Hua unless it has a +2 bonus. The good thing however is, Hua and also Kevin provides an early source of breach. The first core gives a shield once in a while, and the enhanced Signet increases the max stacks and provides a way to recover the stacks quickly. However, the first core is not used anymore since the second core is much better, so this is definitely D tier. The second core addresses this problem by giving you max stacks instantly in exchange for a limited number of shields. But this should not be a problem anymore, so this is definitely on A or B tier, but I would put this on A tier. Next is Scalpass, which gives you more damage the less HP you have, and this pairs well with Blood Rose support. The Signets can also increase max HP, which in turn gives more damage bonus. The first core only deals fire damage, and the enhanced Signet further increases this damage, so I would put this on C or D tier. I've talked about the second core in a previous video, but basically your HP is permanently low and any heals past the cap would boost your maximum HP instead. This is actually a good thing since it prevents someone like Sandy from healing to full HP, and having a higher total HP would give more damage bonus. The enhanced Signets give breach, adaptive damage, and damage reduction once you reach 1500 charges. I would put this on A tier, but since reaching the required charges takes a while, I would rank it down to B tier. Kevin requires you to use ultimates, and the Signets only have a 5-second duration. The first core increases the effects of the normal Signets, while the enhanced Signets can extend the duration or even boost them further. I would put this on B tier. The second core makes the buffs permanent for the entire floor, but your ultimate or burst attacks must hit 50 times first, which is difficult to achieve in one ultimate, except for Velvey and Fischl. The enhanced Signets also boost the effects of the normal Signets and also give total damage and damage taken debuff. I'll put this on B or C tier, lower than the first core mainly because of its activation requirement. Next is Cosmo, and the Signet has this thing called Rend, which you can think of as a bleed, but it deals adaptive damage instead. This Signet looks decent in theory, but only a select few can actually use this. And personally, I haven't used this Signet at all. This can be used by Valkyries that does multiple hits, but if your Valkyrie can do big numbers, then focusing on damage buffs would be a better choice. The first core deals adaptive damage and shield damage, while the enhanced Signet gives breach and damage taken debuff. But still, I would still put this on D tier. The second core is decent and pairs well with Scalpass since it makes you lose HP, but without any shields, this can get a bit risky. The enhanced Signet has damage buffs, breach, and adaptive damage, and I would put the second core above the first one at C tier. Now we have Mobius, which used to be the most overpowered Signet due to its infinite damage scaling, but this was nerfed long ago. Mobius Signet only works with Valkyries with summoned entities such as Mobius herself, Argent Knight Artemis, Senti, and Velvey, and it's kinda useless for other Valkyries. The first core gives a buff that is triggered when summoning an entity or when triggering elf ultimates. This buff turns your Valkyrie into a summoned entity, which lets you benefit from the normal Signets. And if you're not getting this enhanced Signet, you might as well not build the first core. I would put this on A tier. For the second core, poop tier. Next we have Sakura, which is really good if the Valkyrie can directly activate their evasion skill. The first core stops enemies after you use evasion skills 3 times, and a fraction of the damage done during this duration is dealt as ice damage. It has this sort of crowd control effect, and it's also a good source of damage, so it's A tier for me. The second core lets you forcibly activate evasion skills on Valkyries. Now this is beneficial for something like Pardo or Griseus Signets since you have to use evasion skills to activate some of their effects. For the second core, I would put this on C tier. Su relies on combo counts, so any fast attacking Valkyries can use this. However, since the introduction of Aponia's second core, this has seen less use. The first core deals adaptive damage, and the enhanced Signet deals with the enemy's shields. To be honest, there's no point in getting this anymore since shields are not an issue, and Sue has a second core, and we also have Aponia's second core. So this will be on D tier. The second core is similar to the first one since it also deals adaptive damage, but it is much better, since the debuff lets you hit the combo thresholds more often with Valkyries such as Silverwing and Elysian. So this would be around B or C tier. Last is Velvey, which I also covered in a previous video. The first core deals physical damage that always crits, and the enhanced signets are there to further boost this. The fact that it only deals physical damage limits its potential, and realistically, only Elysian can use this. So this is C or D tier. The second core is absolutely broken. It does adaptive damage, which solves the issue of the first core, and it also sucks enemies. The enhanced signet gives a larger radius, breach, and a huge damage taken debuff, so this is definitely S tier. So to further improve this list, I'll be ranking the signets within their tiers. So this is the final tier list. When building signets, you generally pick 2 cores from the S tier and 1 to 2 cores from A and B tiers. But again, the combination really depends on your Valkyrie.